What's up, everybody? What's happening? It's Wednesday. It's Boss Up and List Day. I'm wearing my hashtag Weebay t-shirt that I love. What does it say on the back? I don't remember. It says something like,
"We are many colors."
We are many colors. This is the awesome Weebay shirt that Dom sent me from eBay. I think you got one too.
Yep.
But actually, I'm gonna have to. There we go.
I'm not sitting next to a giant.
Whatever. Anyway, as you guys can see, we have a very special guest, as I call her, the bossiest of all the bosses. Theresa Cox is here. Oh, you gotta say something, Theresa, or it won't show up.
Oh, see, that's her mug.
This is my I'm the boss mug that I'm drinking out of. This is a gift from Katie and Vikki. I think for my birthday last summer.
Yep.
She really is the boss. And I'm super excited because Laura Franzica, one of our admins in the boss group, is here watching live, which we almost never see her in the live chat. So
almost never.
Yeah, especially now that she has pretty much the cutest puppy ever. She is,
and she has not figured out how to have a business and a life yet. It's like having a newborn.
Anyway, guys, thanks for joining us. It is Wednesday, so it's Boss Up and List Day. And what's Boss Up and List Day?
The all-day virtual listing party.
We do it in the Boss Facebook group. So if you're not in the Boss Facebook group, you totally should be. Basically, every Wednesday morning, I put up a thread in the group, to check in, say what their goals are for the day. And it's just kind of an opportunity for us to be held accountable and like really get some serious listing done. And then we always do a show at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we try to like cover some sort of business aspect of things. And so today we have Theresa here. And Theresa, give us a little highlight of what are we going to be talking about today?
My favorite subject. No, it's not. I just seem to get nailed with it. Taxes. So we're gonna,
well, specifically sales tax, right? As opposed to like our personal taxes.
Specific sales tax.
Yeah, specific sales tax, which reminds me that I was at the dentist yesterday and I kept telling him that, oh, I hate coming to the dentist. I said, I'm sure you never hear that. And he's like, nope, in my next life, I'm going to become an ice cream scooper. Everybody loves to see the ice cream scooper. Nobody likes to go to the dentist. And that's what I feel about taxes. Like nobody likes to talk about taxes, but here we are talking about taxes.
Yeah, pretty much. Lorna just said the worst subject in the world, but actually, like eBay has already started collecting taxes for Washington, haven't they?
Couple states.
Yeah, a couple states. And
so shouldn't Lorna be off the hook now?
She is.
Okay, we'll get into it. But Lorna, this should be your favorite topic because you were talking earlier in the boss group about because Lorna has to like submit her sales tax that she collects every month, I think. And she was lamenting over the fact that they wouldn't let her do it quarterly, even though it's literally like $10 a month for her. And so with the changes that have been happening over this last year and to continue to happen, we're going to cover, and Theresa's got all these scoops on it. Lorna should be, if she's not off the hook now, she should be off the hook relatively soon. But I think, we were talking about this and I think the whole tax thing, sales tax thing, it can seem really confusing and it can seem really daunting. It's kind of like the idea of doing your own international shipping. Like just kind of when you talk about, say the word tax or talk about numbers.
Someone hears the word taxes and they get anxious.
Right. And I think that it actually, once you kind of like learn the ropes, it's a lot simpler than it seems, especially with the way it's going to be happening moving forward. But Theresa she's got the inside connections at eBay to get the real deal. So hopefully we're going to be able to answer all your questions today. And if there are any questions that come up that stump even Theresa, luckily we're going to be able to go straight to the source and answer those questions. So if we don't answer something today, we'll make sure to add comments later at the bottom of this video to answer any questions that are left.
And the other thing I want to say is don't jump in with a ton of questions until we actually start and Theresa starts talking about, and let her get through the information first, because I think your questions will be mostly answered when she finishes talking about the topic, as opposed to asking questions because you might be confused before you hear any of the answers. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So how about this? We'll
like say, as a teacher, I want to say like, wait until we're done with the discussion before you hold your questions until we give you the instructions.
So basically you can say whatever you want in the chat. I'm not going to stop you guys from asking questions, but just know that we're probably not going to see them. And you're going to have to type them again until we get to the end. But I guess, Theresa, why don't you start with saying how it's been in the past, like kind of, you know, because not all states collect sales tax. So there's like what, 4 states that don't do sales tax. I'm from Oregon originally,
New Hampshire
no
does
sales
not.
tax. But how has it been in the past with sales tax and with sellers having to collect sales tax?
Okay, so a little bit of background on this is that in May, I was selected by eBay to go to Washington, D.C. for their annual, what they call DC Fly-In. And I forget how many sellers there were from across the country. I want to say like 35 or something. But basically what we do is we have a 2-day thing in DC. And what a lot of sellers don't realize is that eBay has this government relations team that are stationed in the DC area, and they work constantly. I got a call, sorry. Constantly to, on behalf of sellers, and they're over there advocating for small businesses. And they were very in the trenches on this whole Wayfair Supreme Court ruling that happened in June. I was there in May, so it was kind of like the first time I really got a thorough understanding of what all that meant. So I just want to give a shout out to the eBay government relations team. They do a ton of stuff. I don't think they get a lot of credit because they just kind of magically make it happen behind the scenes. But that's something where eBay does way more for sellers than any other platform in that area. So shout out to Sharon and William and I can't even, Singleton. That's his last name, but I worked with him in DC, and they're all great. They're fabulous what they do. So that said, the way it used to be, everybody's kind of familiar with Nexus, and Nexus is basically that you have to collect sales tax for any place that you have Nexus or any place that you reside. Or for instance, if you are Walmart, and you have a physical location in Nevada and one in Texas, but you don't want to have one in Oregon, you have to collect sales tax for those places. And right. So for me, I'm in the state of Arizona, so Nexus dictated that I had to collect sales tax for any sales that I made to another person in the state of Arizona.
Right, so Lorna lives in Washington. She would collect sales tax if she had a buyer who lived in Washington. Here, we collect sales tax for anyone who buys from us in Nevada, and that's kind of like the way it's been.
Yes, and so I think that most sellers are familiar with that because that's just kind of the way it's been. There's a lot of talk about Nexus. So in what they're calling it post-Wayfair, so in June of last year, the Supreme Court overruled the 1992 or 94 ruling about, it was the Quill ruling, and that basically said that states can collect for taxes even if you aren't in that state. So I'm not an expert on this. Let me just make sure that, so let me back up a little bit. What we're going to talk about today, I am not an expert on it. I had about an hour phone call this morning with somebody on the eBay government relationship team to answer some of my questions that I had that I didn't fully understand. There's an eBay page that Katie has posted the link in the, what do you call that?
It's in the description down below.
In the description down below. And so that helps a lot. But what we're going to do is kind of tell you what's going on so that you guys know what questions to ask. Because what I learned in May was there was so much stuff I didn't know until I was in DC. So just take all this stuff, and we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. By all means, this is not tax advice, even though, you know, I love the idea of sharing information. This is not advice. This is just information. So, so that's kind of, is that what that was your question? Like,
yeah. So basically, it's kind of like, so the way it was before. Like, let's take Lorna as an example again. She lives in Washington. She sells something to a buyer in Washington. They get charged sales tax. She takes that sales tax and she sends it on to the state. With the way going forward, especially with Washington, people probably have seen, if you sell on Etsy or you sell on eBay, if a buyer who lives in Washington buys from us and we're here in Nevada, they're getting taxed now, whereas before they didn't.
Right. Correct. So that's where that's before. Now the post Wayfair thing is that let me see what my notes say here. So independent to the Supreme Court ruling, some states decided that they took an approach of asking marketplaces, asking in quotes, obligating marketplace facilitators. So marketplace facilitators would be eBay, Posh, Etsy, you know, all those places that facilitate selling goods across state lines, or I guess selling goods at all. It doesn't have to be across state lines. They obligated these marketplace facilitators to collect and remit sales tax on behalf of the sellers. So there's 2 states that are doing it now, Washington and Minnesota. And so I did see a question in the chat from Mindy in Minnesota saying that we don't have sales tax on clothes. Do I still have to pay taxes? The bottom line is, because Minnesota is one of...
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Did we lose Theresa?
Let's hope not, because I don't know crap about this.
No. Well, see us losing any viewers, so I think that, can you guys still see us and Theresa's the only frozen one?
Or are we frozen?
I think we're okay, because usually what will happen is you'll see the viewers like drop out. So I think we still have, I think everybody's still in there and they can see us, just Theresa disappeared. Yeah, so just as long as you can see us, hopefully it's a cliffhanger, just Theresa. Okay, so hopefully she'll come back and she'll figure it out. But anyway, if you guys sell on Etsy, and I think on eBay it's doing Washington now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like if you sell on Etsy or you sell on eBay, if you do sell anything to Washington, you've probably seen that it'll say, like on your order screen, it'll say like this order has collected tax, whatever. So it's something like that. So you've definitely probably seen those changes. But I will suggest, while we're waiting for Theresa, like she said, in the description of this video, if you scroll down and you click on show more, because you can see like it says today is the Boss Up and List Weekly Wednesday virtual listing party. And then under that, you just click on show more and you'll see the first link that I have shared there. It says eBay's sales tax collection timeline. And so if you just click on that, this might help as you're watching the show. It's got kind of a timeline of when they're going to start collecting, like when they're effectively going to start collecting those taxes.
Okay, Theresa's computer crashed. She's refreshing right now.
Yeah, she's refreshing right now. So I'm looking at this right now, and it shows Washington. It shows January 1st. So yeah, so speaking to Lorna, I don't know exactly how that's going to look for you as a seller, if you're just no longer going to have to do that at all, or if you're going to have to do anything. But we'll be talking to Theresa when she comes back. But yeah, it's got a whole list of states showing there.
Basically, it's something that you know, it's really going to be fairly seamless on your end. It's just like anything else. When you purchase something on Walmart.com or on Amazon.com or any of the other sites, when you make a purchase and they collect sales tax, you don't see it. It's just part of your purchase price. You know, it'll say you're paying this plus your sales tax plus delivery if there's a delivery fee, and that's it. It's part of your purchase. It's not going to affect your buyers, and they're used to paying sales tax. We all are. And it's not going to affect you on your end if it's another state. If it's a state that you don't live in, you have nothing to worry about. eBay is going to collect the sales tax on their end for the states in order to make compliance. And they're going to remit the sales tax. You don't have to worry about it. You're not going to see anything. You don't have to put anything different in your listings. It just is what it is.
Yeah. Bottom line, if you live in a state that collects sales tax, you just need to know, is eBay doing that automatically for you? And if they're not, whether or not you need to be doing it yourself. Otherwise, if you, like for us, we don't have to worry about any of the other states, because as they kind of get added to the list, eBay is going to be doing that for us.
Right. Basically, you need to worry about the state that you live in. And again, yes, if you live in Minnesota or if you live in Washington, and coming up in February and April, there's Iowa and Connecticut. New Jersey is in May. So there is a list of states that are coming and when they're going to start incorporating it. If you live in one of those states, then yes, you're going to want to hear about how that affects you. If you don't live in those states, it doesn't affect you at all. DJ, that's what we just said. Now your listings are going to show that taxes will be charged in certain states.
Yeah.
We all do. It's
You're not
going
collecting
to affect
that.
you. You're not collecting them.
that.
You're not making any changes. You're not collecting the taxes. You're not remitting the taxes. It only affects your buyer. eBay's taking the taxes. They're remitting the taxes on your behalf. You don't need to worry about it. It's very seamless. You need to only be concerned with if you live in one of those states.
Because it'll just say, like, I've sold something to Washington this last week on Etsy, and it told me that a sales tax was collected, But let's say it was a shirt I sold for $35.99. I got $35.99. I did not get the taxes that were collected. Etsy got those, and they're the ones paying it on. They're the ones keeping records of that. They're the ones that are responsible for it. I don't have to do anything as a buyer.
Right.
So I know that this is new, and it's kind of, I think it can be kind of confusing and overwhelming to people who aren't familiar with this kind of stuff. But bottom line, the only thing I would say for you to be more conscious of is what's happening within your own state, just to make sure that you aren't responsible for taking care of it yourself.
As a business owner, you should be collecting the taxes in the state that you live in anyway. That's part of doing business. And that's something you should be talking about with your CPA and knowing your own state tax law, apart and separate from eBay. When you're selling and you are a salesperson, you need to collect taxes in your state if it's required, and you need to know whether you need to remit that, monthly, quarterly, or yearly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's entirely different. But yeah, Desiree, on a case-by-case basis with one item, don't even worry about that, because you wouldn't be collecting the sales tax anyway. So
right, it's not your responsibility. So
it's the buyer's responsibility, and it's eBay's responsibility. If you don't live in that state, don't worry about a one-off, sale that they didn't catch the sales tax on, please.
But I don't know if any of you guys, I'm sure everybody shops on Amazon. Since there's only like 4 states that don't have sales tax, most of you have had the experience of going on to Amazon, buying something, and you get charged the sales tax. Well, it's the same kind of thing. It's like the sellers that sell on Amazon, they're not handling that money. They're not doing anything. They have nothing to do with that. It's all Amazon. Amazon does it for all the states. And so eBay is doing the same thing.
And Jennifer, Buckeye Mom asked, will all 50 states eventually be part of this? Well, that's something that eBay and a lot of other companies are still fighting in Washington. We don't know. We don't know how it's going to affect us, and we don't know if this decision will be reversed. But as of right now, there are certain states that are under compliance, and that's based on the list that we showed you. That's all we know so far. That's all anybody knows.
Mm-hmm.
Will that mean that all 50 states will eventually be part of this? Maybe so, maybe not. It can be somewhat confusing, and yes, Kara, each county is different. Again, nothing that you need to worry about yet, because Florida is not on the upcoming list yet. Yeah. So don't worry about it yet.
Okay. So good question from JG. So JG lives in Oklahoma, and yes, Oklahoma, eBay is going to start, it looks like on this list, they're July 1st, 2019. And so, like I said, you're going to want to find out when that transition is going to happen. So up until July 1st, at least, you're going to need to continue. Sorry, let me get a pen for this one over here. You are going to need to continue to do what you're doing, where you do collect taxes and remit them to the state for anybody within Oklahoma that buys from you. But it looks like July 1st, eBay will be taking that over. So again, I don't know what that transition actually looks like. I don't know if that means like at 12:01 a.m. July 1st, if somebody buys from you in Oklahoma, you're no longer responsible for it. I will tell you, you should see when those purchases are made. It should show up and say that eBay has collected that tax, but I don't know how that's going to affect like your settings. Like if you're going to need to like take that sales tax off of those listings. Honestly, I don't know what that's going to look like. And that's something that we can find out. And somebody like Lorna will be able to tell us, because she's in Washington and that change is happening right now. It's already happened now in January. So that should be fine.
I see your question, One Witch Lady. Are they collecting the tax for international sellers who sell to the U.S.? I wrote your question down. I don't know the answer to that, but I will find out for you.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I know that there's, Teresa's coming back right now. What's up, Theresa? I think that somehow we were able to fake it until we were able to make it while you were gone.
We were able to answer some easy questions in there.
Oh, good.
And there was another question that I just saw there. Someone asked, if you live in that state, blah, blah, blah. Here's the thing. Scroll back up for 1 second. JG asked, I hear eBay is going to start collecting sales tax in Oklahoma. I've been remitting sales tax each month for any eBay sales I do in Oklahoma. What do I remit my own for eBay? Well, this is the benefit to you living in one of those states. If eBay is your only venue that you sell on, eBay will now be taking care of that for you. You will not have to do taxes.
Teresa, so Lorna's in Washington. Supposedly the change happened January 1st. I've already seen, at least on Etsy, that Washington sales are being taxed. She hasn't seen anything different. Do you know, like, how does that transition work? Is it like,
okay, I do know. So the way that it works for Washington and Minnesota Those are the 2 states that eBay's doing now. Iowa will join them on February 1st. And if you go to that link that Katie has, the eBay page on
Yeah, I
there.
told everybody to open it up. And JG is in Oklahoma. So for JG, it's going to be July 1st. So I guess the question is, what happens on that date?
Okay, so for Minnesota and for Washington, what happens is when somebody that lives in that state buys from Lorna or me or whatever, when they go to check out, they have sales tax automatically added onto their listing.
So for Lorna, should she go in and change all of her listings to no longer collect sales tax?
Good question. I think that the system overrides it, but let's ask that question at noon.
Okay.
And then, so we'll ask that for you, Lorna. But what happens is,
yeah, we have at noon, we have a phone call where we'll be able to ask these questions. And so that's why I'm saying if we run into anything like that where we don't have a clear answer for it, we're going to make sure we ask that question, get the answer, and then we'll add it to the comments in this video.
Awesome. Yeah, so I believe that eBay will override a seller's settings, but we'll double check that. And what happens is then PayPal, if you're on PayPal, there's only a very small percentage of people in managed payment. But so if you're a PayPal person, then PayPal will collect that sales tax from the buyer and PayPal splits it. So PayPal will only give Lorna her sales, right, and they will give eBay the sales tax so that then eBay can remit it to the state on behalf of Lorna.
So Lorna, you said that you sold to Washington yesterday. I don't like, how does it usually look to you when you make a sale? Do you see that sales tax? Like, do you see, can you tell from your records that you collected that sales tax, or is there just nothing there now? So that would be my question. And then somebody in the chat, so Rebecca is asking again about the sales tax on clothing. How does that work?
I'm writing down these questions
honestly,
that we don't have the answers to,
honestly,
so that we can ask.
Honestly, like, while we don't have the answer for the clothing part of it, eBay's taking over that part. So it really, as sellers, you don't really need to worry about it. Does that make sense?
The onus is on eBay at this point.
So I don't know. I don't know if
they're
eBay,
going to be able to differentiate based on the category that your sale happened in. I'm not sure.
So eBay will know that Minnesota doesn't tax clothes. And so, but I think it was Mindy asked the question that if you are selling clothes, then eBay's, anything that you're selling, Mindy, is automatically, no. Anything that now I'm confused. Mindy lives in Minnesota. So any sales that she has to Minnesota, eBay is automatically going to pay for. eBay will take care of, not pay for. eBay is automatically going to collect and remit on behalf of Mindy. They will know which ones to tax and which ones not to tax, right, as far as clothing. So that is all on eBay.
Either way, none of us, whether we live in Nevada or in Arizona or in Minnesota, have to differentiate any of that because they are now doing all the collecting of the taxes.
Correct. Okay, so Sweet Pea, you live in Ohio, do not collect sales tax. You should be. If you have an online business, you should be collecting sales tax because you are obligated to pay sales tax to your state for items that you sell within your state. Again, you need to talk to your CPA or your tax accountant about that, exactly how to do it, but you should be doing that. Your state of Ohio sales tax.
Oh, but wait.
Sales tax and state taxes are two very different things. We're not talking about state tax. We're talking about not income tax. We're talking
just
about
sales tax.
Well, I don't know. Hold on a second. I don't know if Sweet Pea is saying, they're saying they don't collect the sales tax, but they do pay it. So I don't know if they're just paying it out of their own pocket or if they're talking about their own personal taxes. So maybe if you could clarify that, and you don't get to, you also say, should I start having eBay start for Ohio? You don't get to decide that. That's something that's going to be figured out by eBay in the states. And
right now, Ohio is not on the list.
No, it's not on the list. Yeah.
So the states are obligating marketplace facilitators. So this is not eBay saying, hey, we want to collect sales tax for Washington and Minnesota. Washington and Minnesota have made the ruling, the law, whatever it is, that says that if you're a marketplace facilitator, then you are obligated to collect these taxes for any sales that are shipped into the state of Washington or the state of Minnesota. So Ohio is not on the list. If I was, okay, so Sweet Pea saying that she does pay sales tax out of her own pocket. I don't know why you don't charge sales tax if you're paying sales tax, but you know that she can do that.
Yeah, Sweet Pea, it's totally up to you if you want to pay it out of your own pocket. The question would be why, because I don't know what the sales tax is there. Here it's like 8%. I don't know. I wouldn't want
8.1%. I collect it on my orders. So you should, there is a cap when you're doing your listings, there is a way for you to put in what state you collect taxes on and what the tax rate is. That's what you should be doing. I mean, you shouldn't be paying it out of pocket. Your customers should be paying it. Yeah, there's no reason for you to be paying it out of pocket. You should be collecting it and then you have it and submit it.
And it's complicated because in California, when I used to do sales tax for my job in California, it was easy because most of the stuff I dealt with was LA County, which was huge, and Orange County, which was huge. And so I only had those 2 tax rates. But in Arizona, you have, and the city taxes were the same. Arizona, I have, Gilbert has a city tax, Tempe has a city tax, and like you have county taxes, you have state taxes, you have city taxes. There's no way that you're going to be able to figure out all this stuff for all these
right
jurisdictions, which is
the only part you need to know is your state.
And last year, if you remember, when all this was going around, there was a lot of panic going on in the seller community because the idea of having to, it's one thing to live in a state and collect sales tax for sales within that state, but once you start having to deal with all these other states and all these other municipalities,
there are thousands.
There's over 1,000 or whatever. And
there's over 10,000 jurisdictions that you would have to be responsible for. Now,
there you go. So the possibility of it sounded like it could ruin a business. But we said at the time that most likely, if that ever did become a reality, that most likely eBay would step up and take care of it. And it looks like that's coming true. Like they're taking that on.
In the same way that Amazon has taken care of it for their merchant sellers. It's something that is not feasible nor possible for individual small businesses and small sellers to handle, period.
But
so these large companies are doing it.
We need to differentiate that eBay's not doing this because eBay wants to. eBay is doing this because the state of Washington and the state of Minnesota is requiring them to do.
Well, I know, but eBay has a choice. I mean, they could say that we all have to do it. I mean, right? I mean,
no, the law is the marketplace facilitator has to collect, because then I think the state of Washington is doing that because eBay. So a lot of these states are following the I forget if it's North or I think it's the South Dakota model, where it's $100,000 in sales to that state or 200 transactions. Yeah. So eBay, so I'm never going to have 200 transactions to the state of Washington or $100,000. So the state of Washington is going to collect all the money that I send because they're using eBay's aggregate sale number. Yeah. So that's why they want marketplace facilitators to do this, because then they're getting one payment from eBay and not 1,000 payments from 1,000 little sellers.
So so I think, this is like a good example of where sometimes the community goes to worst case scenario, and as a whole, it turns into a Chicken Little fest of thinking that like, oh, we're all going to have to do this and all these businesses are going to be in ruin. And yes, if we as individual businesses had to go and register with every state, county, whatever that had taxes, and then somebody, has an audit and then we have to fly out and, it's like, obviously like that's not possible. But the reality is that actually as sellers, we're not having to worry about that. And for some sellers like Lorna in Washington, it's going to be great because she doesn't have to worry about it anymore.
Don't you have to have a sales tax license to be able to withhold taxes? Generally, I believe yes. And you probably are required to have a business license and a sales tax license to be doing what you do in your state or your city. Again, that's something that is state and city specific. You really need to talk to either your town or your city, or look at the websites for where you live. It depends on where you live. When I lived in Rhode Island, I didn't need to have a business license for what I did selling online. Living here, I have to have one both with the town and the state. So
every city, every county is going to be, every state is going to be different. So you have to look into that. And you could just Google it.
And it may do, if you're a small based business and you have, you have under X number of dollars a year, you may not need one. So it really does depend on where you live.
Yeah.
That's not a question we could answer for you.
Yeah. Rebecca, I'm not sure what you're asking. You said, so does that mean we stop buying it because eBay's paying it? So if you could reiterate that question differently so we understand.
I think she means that you need to stop buying your business license. I think that was what she meant by that.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, there's no buying. Yeah, so I mean, sales tax is something that you collect. And here's the big takeaway. Whether you're collecting sales tax in the state that you live in or not, if you collect it, you must remit it. That's where you can go to jail. If you start charging your buyers sales tax and you don't pay that sales tax to your state, then yes, you will go to jail. So if you're going to collect them, then remit them.
If you don't collect it, then I guess, you know, you probably should still be remitting it if you're under the guidelines where you need to. Like someone said that they don't collect it, they just pay out of pocket. You're well within your rights to do that. I'm as long as you're paying it.
Yes, and sales tax technically is on every sale. You have a garage sale, technically you're supposed to be paying sales tax on that. So, but it's one of those things that, do they get policed? No, but could they? Yes.
Yeah, Rebecca's question, if you pay sales tax in the state of Minnesota, but if eBay is paying the sales tax, do you stop paying it? Yes, if you're only selling on eBay and eBay is your only selling platform, yes, that means you're off the hook now.
Well, my question is, okay, so guys, we don't know everything here. We're still figuring this out ourselves. So I want to make sure that because I'm reading this, Theresa, in this thing, and I want to ask you if you understand this. So it says small business exemption. Minnesota has enacted a small business exemption for out-of-state unregistered sellers whose taxable retail sales into Minnesota are less than 10,000 in the previous 12. So most of our sales are not going to be.
So if you're in the state of Minnesota, they do have that small business exemption. So eBay, from my understanding with the call that I was on this morning, eBay is tracking that.
So for Rebecca, as a seller in Minnesota, they are collecting any taxes to buyers in Minnesota as well now?
To buyers in Minnesota.
Like in the past, she's been collecting and she's been paying. She's been collecting sales tax to buyers in Minnesota and from buyers in Minnesota, and then she's been paying them to the state of Minnesota. Her question is, should she stop doing that now because it's January 1st, after January 1st?
Yes.
Yes. She should stop doing that. And so, here's
Wendy has a question here. If I'm selling as a person, not as a business, is this still relevant? Yes. Whether you're a person or a business, whatever you want to call yourself, if you are selling online, you're required to collect sales tax. If your state requires it, you are required to be collecting and paying sales tax.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So back to Minnesota, that exemption that they have, that small business exemption, my call this morning from the somebody on the eBay government relationship team said that they suspect that Minnesota will change that to be in line with everything else. So
but currently, when I sell to Minnesota,
yes,
my buyers in Minnesota are not being taxed because I know I don't sell $10,000 to Minnesota.
Out of state unregistered sellers. We tax them.
Meaning I'm not registered in the state of Minnesota, right? That's what they're saying.
Are not subject to the Minnesota marketplace tax laws. eBay, because eBay will not be collecting sales tax on these transactions.
Right.
Okay.
Since I don't have like a big buyer base in Minnesota. Yeah. It's not happening. Whereas Washington, it doesn't matter. They're taxing.
They're doing it everything. Yeah. So if I sell something to Minnesota, no, eBay's not going to collect the sales tax on it. But if Mindy sells something in Minnesota, yes, eBay's going to collect the sales tax because Mindy lives in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I had to pull up the text on the screen.
We're really not trying to be confusing, guys. We're trying to make clarifications and some stuff we don't understand fully yet. So this is just more like, this is what's happening right now. And this is in the conversation right now. So we just wanted to make sure that we were touching on it. And, because we're talking about it, things are going to come up and we're going to be like, oh, we don't know the answer to that. Let's go find that out.
Yep. Okay.
eBay did post something. Angie asked, will eBay be sending out an email to instruct us sellers per state as to what they want us to do? 90% of people have no clue about any of this. It is right on your eBay seller hub. There is notifications. Whenever there's something important that happens, they've given notification. There is a notification that has this information that we're talking about today. And that was put up there a week or two ago.
At some time, yeah. So the other thing too is that as more states roll out this stuff, eBay is going to make reports available for sellers so that they can see that they collected this much sales tax and for this state and they paid this in the state of Washington, they still have a B&O tax that they have to pay, and so that's a business and occupation tax. And so Lorna will still have to file her taxes. That's about 0.5%. And we talked about that specifically on the call this morning. So this is the only reason I know this. But on the form where it goes back and where she does sales tax, then she will just write exempt.
So Sharon Harper said something about, you know, eBay passing the costs along to us and fees. Listen, I don't think that that's a crazy thing. They're putting resources and time, and they're probably, because of this, having to hire more staff, and it's having to be taken care of. And let me tell you,
Eventually,
yes, they're going to pass it along to us. Some of the cost
yes.
us. But you know what? If we had to do this ourselves, we would not be able to work.
We'd be all out of business.
And so I would rather have to pay them a little bit more in fees and not have to worry about making sure that Minnesota and Washington and all these states have to get their taxes. Like, so to me, I don't see that as some horrible thing that eBay is doing to us sellers. Like, here they come along, they're going to start charging us more in fee. They're not doing it for free, guys.
This is a national law that has been passed, and there are different states that are forcing you to be in compliance. So eBay is taking that compliance and taking care of it for us. And I think that that's actually a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that.
And again, you know, they have a whole team of people working with lawmakers and Congress and legislatures in DC on behalf of us. eBay doesn't have to pay any sales tax.
Well, and
eBay
as Sharon just said, not a bad thing. So I just wanted to point that out. So that's good. I just wanted to address that because, yeah, people are going to be, I'm sure somebody's going to get mad at some point about like them raising fees and stuff like that. But it's like, that's the reality, guys. It's costing them more money.
Yeah, can you imagine if we all had to hire tax accountants to do this for us, how much that would cost us each month?
Yeah, Angie, you didn't get an email in announcements. It is right on your Seller Hub page. It depends on how you have your Seller Hub set up. There are announcements in different spots, but it is right on your Seller Hub page. And it is...
I'm looking to see if I can find it. I don't know where my announcements are.
Yeah, because everybody sets it up differently.
I don't know.
I can't see mine because this is your screen, so I don't know. Mine is on selling announcements. I'm
going to click on see all announcements and let me see if it comes up in there. But I also did include the link in this thing that takes you to the page that has the timeline for the different states it's going to roll out for. And like I said, guys, okay, so for those of you who live in states like Oregon where there's no sales tax, none of this affects you in any way. You don't have to do anything. You didn't have to do anything before. You don't have to do anything going forward, so don't worry about it. The rest of you, if you live in a state that does collect sales tax and you already are doing that on your own, whatever, yes, you need to be paying attention to when eBay is going to take that over the different states for your specific state. And until they take it over for your state, you need to continue to be collecting sales tax and remitting that to your state. And you already needed to know that if you're selling in a state that collects sales tax. So really, it's just about being aware of the timeline. If your state's not doing it yet, then you just need to continue what you're doing.
And if you're in one of these 4 states that are impacted by this over the next couple of months, then this is where you need to be paying attention. If you live in one of these 4 states.
Yeah.
That's really it right now. And just keep paying attention. We're going to continue to talk about this as it changes. You just need to start paying more attention to it because it is your responsibility. So your announcements here, can you put
it doesn't have a recent one. So
yeah, so the thing is that if you're a large enough seller that you think that you're going to cross the threshold of $100,000, let's just say, you know, everybody complains on the East Coast that they ship everything to California. Well, if that's true and you have 200 transactions or $100,000 in sales to California, then you must register with the state of California.
Sandy says there was an announcement on October 29th.
Yeah, there is one on October. That's like a while ago. And I don't know if that has... I don't know if it's been updated or not. I'm clicking on it now to look at it.
So one of the nice things, I know there's a lot of people in the Boss group that are in the data mine beta testing thing. One of the nice things is that they do break this out for you. So you can click on a report and you can see how much, what the dollar amount to a state was, what the sales percentage of it goes, you can international versus domestic. And so there's that report that's easy. So I imagine eBay will do something like that eventually, but Datamine has it right now. So, you know, I can click really easy and go, yeah, I'm not going to be impacted by this.
Yeah. So Lorna says that she found where they say they do it for you, and she's going to post that. Lorna, go ahead and post that in the group, the screenshots of what you found where they're instructing you that they're doing it for you. For sure. We'd love to be able to see it.
Yeah. Liquidation Lounge. No, if you live in Nevada and you're doing business in Nevada, you don't need to register for business licenses in other states. Unless you're doing a huge amount or you have a physical location in other states, don't worry about it.
Okay, Sweet Pea, 200 or 100,000 K, 200 transactions. So a transaction is if I buy 2 widgets from Katie today and pay for it, checkout, that's 1 transaction. If I buy 2 widgets today and 2 widgets tomorrow, that's 2 transactions. So you have to have 200 transactions in the same state or $100,000. So if you're selling a lot of $10 chargers, then you're going to hit your 200 transactions faster than you hit the 100,000 limit sales. But if you're selling, you know, $300 iPhones, you're going to hit the 100,000 faster. So
yeah, basically. But yeah, Liquidation Lounge, again, what we're saying is
we have no
you
idea.
really only need to worry about your own state. Whether or not you're collecting sales tax or eBay's doing it for you. We're not having to like register in other states or other municipalities or anything like that.
We have no idea when or if Nevada is going to be added to that. It's not on the upcoming list where it's scheduled to be added.
And that has to do with the state of
July
Nevada.
right now.
They're the ones who would be deciding that, I'm assuming, right, Theresa?
The individual states, yes.
Yeah.
And so again, this government relations team that eBay has employed stays on top of all of this stuff. And they know, I mean, like I was just blown away the amount of stuff that this employee knew off the top of his head, like the whole thing, the exemption for, or the exception for the Washington rule about the B&O and 0.5%. Like, how do you know this?
I don't know.
B&O is business, and they have to pay a business and occupation tax on their gross receipts in the state of Washington. It's about 5%, 0.5%. And so even though they don't have to pay sales tax, they still have to have their gross receipts. And so Lorna, we keep using Lorna, Washington residents will still have to pay that 0.5% of business and occupation tax.
Yeah. So Kelly wants to know, with that $200,000 or $100,000, is that combined through all the platforms you sell on? So if you sell on eBay and Amazon and Etsy,
yes.
If you do 100 on one, 50 on another, and 60 on another, you've now passed it. Okay.
Because you're a seller and you're sending merchandise into that state, so they don't care if it's eBay, Amazon, Etsy, Mercari, whatever. You're one business making that sales transaction. So yes.
Yeah. All right. So, well, so today's show, it was going to have to be cut off here in the next 5 minutes. So I just wanted to say, again, I'm just going to reiterate this because, again, it is confusing for some people. There's 46 states who do sales tax. So bottom line is, in the 46 states, you just need to know, look at the link that's down below in the description of this video and go look at it. And you'll see the timeline for which states eBay is going to be collecting taxes for.
Correct.
No seller needs to worry about the 49 other states, right? The only thing you need to think about is your own
How it
state.
affects your state.
If your own state collects sales tax, if they're in that list, eBay is going to be doing it starting on those dates. If they're not on that list, you as a seller are responsible for figuring out if you need to be collecting the sales tax and remitting it to your state. Otherwise, don't worry. If you live in one state, don't worry about any of the other 49 states because you don't have to do it for them. eBay will do it on the states that need it. Otherwise, don't worry about it, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So Jennifer asked, Katie, Vikki, in your state, eBay takes care of your sales tax for all your eBay transactions, right? No.
Not for Nevada.
Correct. Not for Nevada. We take care of our collecting our own taxes and paying it.
Yeah.
And in our case, we pay quarterly in Nevada.
Yeah, basically.
Clear as mud, people?
So Serena wants to know, do you think eBay will implement a form for us to sign stating they're responsible for? No, I mean, nobody signs anything for Amazon.
No, different states were wanting to have the platform issue a certificate, and they were like, well, why do this, whatever. So eBay will probably just have a statement on their webpage, or they may have it or something, like they may, on that page, they may put their tax ID or something to make them legit. I don't know.
Now, real quick, speaking of international, for any of you guys who do ship directly internationally and sell internationally, you've probably noticed in the last few months, they've also started collecting a tax for Australian buyers. So same kind of thing. You get a little thing on your orders page that says this sale, we have collected the sales tax, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't really mean anything to us as sellers. We don't have to do anything about it. It's automatically done. It has to do with the tax laws in Australia. eBay is having to collect those taxes and pay it to Australia.
Right.
So
I do have a few of the questions here that we were not able to answer. I did write them down so that we are going to ask them on our conference call that we're about to go on to. And hopefully we'll have some answers for you guys. And we can either address it in our next show or we can add it to the comments at the bottom of this show.
Well, I think both. We'll go ahead and add comments to the comment section of this video after it's no longer live. So if you guys want to come back later after today, we will add any information that comes up, and then we'll probably touch on it in another show.
Desiree, quick question. When you check the box for your state and the percentage, what does that do? It collects taxes from your buyers that live in those particular states.
And it goes to you, and then
if it's for your state,
it goes to you.
The tax comes to you. It comes to you in their payment. So say they buy something for $100 and your sales tax is 7%, you're going to get a payment of $107. And now at quarterly or monthly or yearly, however you need to submit your taxes, you now need to keep track of those sales that you've made in that particular state, and you need to take that amount that was collected and given to you and pay that in.
Yeah. And again, that's only for your state, and that's only if eBay is not collecting it for you. So again, the link below will tell you which states they're doing it for now and which ones are going to be rolling out over the coming months. And then that's probably going to change as other states join in and stuff like that. So again, you really only need to worry about your own state if you should be collecting sales tax or if eBay is doing it for you. All right.
Clear as mud? Good.
Pretty much. All right. So Theresa, do you want to give a shout out for eBay for Business and tell people what's going on their show today?
Oh yeah. So the eBay for Business show is Wednesday at 12:30 your time.
Yep. 12:30 Pacific.
And let me see the message from Audrey. I forgot already what it was.
Seller metrics.
Oh yes. So it's going to be on seller metrics. So tune in to the Facebook Live page, eBay for Business at 12:30. And Griff, I'm guessing it's Griff and Audrey today. We'll be talking about seller metrics. So
yeah. So if you have any questions about it, go in there, and they do totally answer questions that are like on topic for what they're covering. So if you have any questions and you're confused at all about seller metrics, you should definitely tune in because they'll be right there and they'll answer them. I promise you, if you put it in there, they will address it. So
I like that they're covering these areas on the seller dashboard that we're not as familiar with. And so, yeah, I'm gonna be checking that one out too. So, yeah, check it out. 12:30, eBay for Business.
All right. Well, we better sign off. Sorry, it's a little bit of a shorter show today, but everybody, make sure that if you are in the Boss group, that you have checked in to the Boss Up and List post. Put in what your goals are for today, or maybe today you can't list, but tomorrow is going to be your big listing day. You can still go ahead and say something about, tomorrow I'm going to list X number of things. It's just a great way to be accountable and to like kind of hang out with everybody else and talk about what you're trying to get done. I don't know. I think that's about it. Theresa, got anything else to say?
Not today. Shut up and list.
Well, thanks for coming on the show, and we always love it when you come and hang out with us. And thanks for watching, everybody.
It's fun.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we will see you on Friday. Just a heads up, Friday show is going to be a No Pants Friday After Dark edition. We have special guests that are in town with us right now. We're not going to tell you who they are. You're going to have to wait and find out if you haven't already figured it out from different social media posts. But seriously, it's going to be an awesome show on Friday. We're going to be doing a little out of town thrifting Friday during the day, so that's why we're going to be having a late show. So maybe,
do you know what time yet?
We'll post that day, but it's going to be in the evening.
7-ish.
Yeah, it'll be in the evening. So we'll let you guys know 6 or 7 o'clock probably that night. But No Pants Friday After Dark edition. It's going to be awesome. All right. See you guys later. Thanks again, Theresa.
Peace out.
Bye.